Welcome back to Let's Play Higurashi Tsumihoroboshi. Just looking for a word here, and I don't think it's in here. Blah 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 blah. Okay, heats. Okay, so to heat a room, part of body. Meru, I think. Or as I feel nowadays, I can't stand the heat. Atsukute Tairamasen. I butchered that pronunciation, didn't I? Oh, today hasn't really started. It's like nearly 6 in the morning, but looking outside, it's really cloudy. Maybe that's an indication that this bloody heat wave will finally conclude, so I don't have to constantly sweat like crazy, because it's just so freaking hot. So I left the previous part on a cliffhanger. So, can you guess who this visitor will be? It was that Techen man. This is not the type of music you'd expect for that, is it? Teppei Houjou. Teppei didn't even knock on the door to get in. He broke into the house by smashing the window. At first I thought he came here to ask us about Rena's whereabouts, but I was wrong. You know what? How come this guy isn't in jail? I mean, he's clearly like a no-good son of a bitch who breaks the law all the time. And again, you think, like, apply that to real life. How many low-life people are there that don't seem to be in jail despite being law-breaking assholes? The real reason why Teppei came here was because it was their plan. It was the last stage of their badger game. Rena was probably supposed to be in bed with my father at that time tonight. Teppei must have wanted to show up and catch them sleeping together. Teppei looked around the house, but he couldn't find Rena. He didn't change the plan, though. He grabbed my father by his collar and started yelling for it. He showed my father a certificate of marriage to Rena and shouted at him, saying, "You got my wife pregnant, how you gotta take responsibility?" My father had no idea she was married. He looked shocked. My father is a short guy who is faint of heart. He just let Teppei do and say whatever he wanted from beginning to end. I looked at them from a distance coldly. The more Teppei yelled and threatened my father, the faster he'd wake up from his bad dream. This was a medicine for him. Teppei was cutting out the cancer that I was going to depend on time to do, and he was doing a great job at it. Just like, okay, you may be a low-life son of a skunking bitch, but at least you do it making my job easier. I waited to help my father until I was sure that he had finally awakened from his bad dream. I told Teppei they had something very important to tell him and took him outside. So what you want?
Has Rina-san come back to Okinawa since yesterday?
I don't know.
As a matter of fact, she's hiding somewhere.
What? I don't get it.
Rina-san told me to take you to her when you came up to my house.
Ha! The fuck is Ritsuko thinking? Teppei followed me without hesitation. We walked in the dark with our flashlights to the place where nobody comes and nobody can hear us. The place forgotten. He asked me many times on the way, but I couldn't answer any of them. This friggin' background just makes me think of Karano Shoujo. Specifically Karano Shoujo 2. It's like during those scenes where it's from the murderer's perspective, and everything looks all dark because it's the middle of the night, and you got these kind of far out places where it's just like in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. It has that same look to it. Although this came first, of course. I just told him to ask Rena. That he has me many on the way, but I do not. The way I said it seemed to make him think that Rena was going to betray him and get married to my father for real. Even though he was breathing heavily in a rage, he walked right behind me without any suspicions, because he's kind of an idiot. I knew the city was going to come very soon, so I was well prepared for it. We reached the place where I originally planned to bring him, and I turned off the flashlight all of a sudden. Oh, what's going on? Everyone gets nervous when the only light in the dark goes off. This is my territory. I didn't need any lights. I could feel my surroundings even better without my eyes closed. Well, even better with my eyes closed. I grabbed the big hatchet I'd hidden in a bush and lifted it up high. Oh yes. If like, you've... Heck, it's an iconic image, you know, Rena with the hatchets. It's just like, up until now... Well, actually... Didn't she carry a hatchet around in Onikakushi as well? And that's what, just like, Keiichi was like, ah! And this is the answer arc to that, so it's a little fitting, I guess.
I'm sorry, I guess the battery went out. Hold on a second.
While I bash your brains in. Well, what little brains you have. Hurry it up. I purposely sounded weak and helpless, while I raised the hatchet into the air. Alright, got a lighter, I'll just fire this baby up. Teppei found a lighter in his pocket and lit it up. He probably couldn't understand the sight illuminated by that small light. He saw a girl lifting up a big hatchet right in front of him. Teppei's eyes went wide, one wider than the other. He didn't understand what was going on, but he understood that his life was in danger. And yet he must not have been able to think fast enough to deal with it, even though he understood what he should do. Even if he could think fast enough and blocked his head with his arms, it wouldn't have meant anything. I knew Teppei would come to my house eventually. That's why I prepared for that day. I just didn't think that preparation was going to bear fruit tonight. How do you have the time to think all this shit? I chose my weapon very carefully. Well, this is obviously reflecting and actually supposedly, like, telling all this information to her friends currently, isn't she? Although a lot of this backstory stuff end up taking place from Keiichi's perspective and had little to do with the lead up to this, but it kinda did at the same time. But it was like half the time was Keiichi's perspective, so it made no sense. I planned when, where, and how I was going to attack him. And so there can only be one result. The hatchet cut deeply into his forehead. I felt an indescribable vibration through the hatchet when it hit him, and this told me that I broke his skull. Ooh. He bragged about how good he was at fighting at the coffee house, but he sure went down quickly when faced with a murderous weapon. Well, yeah. He was done in by a single blow. Teppei slowly fell to his side with a hatchet in his forehead. He looked like a victim in a B-movie. Can you imagine, like there's a lot of spin-off arcs in the Higurashi series, but they're mostly comical, really. But can you imagine one where it's just like, maybe there even is one, where it's just like, okay, fuck everything. They'll just like have a character go on a mad killing spree, like a B-movie villain. You know why I find weird is I've never read any of the spin-offs, but a lot of spin-offs don't even have the original characters, so it makes them even odder to me, you know? It's just like, when you get to the end of the main series, it's like the story's wrapped up all well and nicely, so like spin-offs kind of seem a bit, well, the only way to really go, really. But the spin-offs that like have other characters entirely different, and it's just like makes you go, I don't know, man, I don't know about those characters because I haven't read those ones. But it's just one of those cases where you kind of grow attached to the characters, like what was that arc called? Himatsubushi, where it took place from Akasaka's perspective, a character we still haven't physically seen what he looks like. Just like changed our perspective after 3 question arcs from Keiichi's perspective. You change to a character that we've never even met before. Takes place a few years prior to the events of the main plot, and the only real characters we see that we're familiar with is Rika, for the most part, and on one occasion Mion, and that was it. It's just like kind of, well, there was a Wishi as well for most of it as well, but it just kind of feels like a different story entirely. It doesn't feel like it belongs in the same thing, but it is kind of. I don't know. It just feels like it's lacking because you grow attached to the main characters, man. You throw them out for most of the routes, and it just kind of gets a bit kind of like, so this arc isn't even gonna have even so much as one fun game or anything. Just straight to the point, are we? Anyways, back to the plot. I killed this big guy with just one hatchet. He was probably quite experienced in the world of violence, but I was better than him when it came to killing. Why? Because I've killed someone before. Well, Rena, well, I don't know, he seems like the type who just intimidates, but hasn't actually killed anyone, but then again, he might have. I mean, you saw how Rena was like, she didn't even freaking, you know, she just went straight for it, trying to kill Rena, you know, once she realized the gig was up and all that. Or jig, whatever the freaking word was. Just like, realized her plans were foiled, so she tried to kill Rena instantly. So it kind of gave an indication maybe she's done that before. So if that's the case for her, maybe Teppei's done the same thing. It's all done now. The bad people who deceived my father and tried to rob him blind are all gone. I did what I had to do in order to protect my life. Well, Rena, the first time, sure, Rena struck first. This time was just kind of like, this was calculated by you. This was not self-defense. Heck, even the self-defense one, you kind of went a bit overboard. If I had this much courage and determination when my mom told me about the divorce, I might have killed Akihito. Which wouldn't have ended any better, really, would it? I mean, it's not exactly gonna make the happy times return right now. If I did, I would have taken the life of only one. Because I couldn't do it back then, I've had to kill 2 people in the last 2 days. Rena, let's finish it up. There's already a place to hide his body. I took care of everything. My hands were wet, so I shone the flashlight at them. And then, oh fuck, why did I do that? I thought it was blood, but it was just sweat. Even so, I still felt uncomfortable and shone the flashlight at my hands several times. I did all this in order to be happy. I did all this, so I should be happy now. I tried so hard that I got blood on my hands. Literally. I wanted to get credit for that from him. Oyashiro-sama, let me ask you a question. I can finally rewind the time back to the day everything started to go wrong, can't I? I'm going to stay in Hinamizawa. I'm going to live happily with my father forever. You've kind of gone off the deep end, Rena. Always happens, you know, in these arcs, doesn't it? It's like, doesn't matter. It's like they always end up like hitting that point in the story where it's just like, oh shit. Now we're back to Keiichi's perspective again. Just like, she's telling her friends the story of how it all led up. And it's kind of obvious now what that opening scene was all about, probably, isn't it? And she's telling her all about, oh, you're probably wondering how we ended up in this situation. Well, here's the story from my perspective and Keiichi's perspective, even though she doesn't know how it was from Keiichi's perspective. She just showed it from Keiichi's perspective as well because, I don't know, it makes it more interesting. It's rare to see Rena sleep in class. She isn't the kind of girl who sleeps in class because of staying up too late. She had to be tired from doing housework or something. They're kind of dual protagonists, if that's even a thing, you know? Because, like, this is kind of like both characters play an important role in this arc, you know? I mean, it's Rena's story more than anything, but, you know, Keiichi plays an important role as well. Everybody seemed to be thinking the same thing. Nobody tried to wake her up, not even Chie-sensei. She got up for a few seconds and went back to sleep. She swayed back and forth like she was rowing a boat. But she's in class, so I should wake her up, right? I was about to wake her up, but before my hand touched her, Mion gave me a sign not to. Let her sleep. She must be really tired today. Ah, you're right. I heard a few days ago that Rena lives with her father. She studies during the day, plays a lot after school, and does things around the house after that. I didn't know that. I also didn't know her mother divorced her father. Leon told me that, and she also told me not to talk about it because Rena is still hurt by the divorce. So she's at least told Mion about it in the past. She's possibly also told Rika and Sadoko about it, but who knows? Definitely, like, Mion feels like they're closer friend-wise. I didn't even notice that she's been through such a tough time. Rena's the kind of girl who doesn't show her pain to others. She always looks happy and cheerful, but she might be acting that way on purpose. And now that we're sitting from her perspective, that seems just like, it's all been a lie, Rena. You've been hiding your true depression. Rena told me that happy days will one day come to an end. She told me she knew that firsthand. What could she have been through? I had no idea. Maybe the reason he ended up learning about this from Mion was because of that one scene where he was like rambling on about just like, oh, if only interesting shit would happen more often and all that, you know? And just like kind of like going about his day-to-day life like, oh, I'm so bored sometimes, you know? While Rena was suffering, and maybe Mion caught on to that and just like, hey, Jay's had like some rough times in the past and stuff. That's probably why she tried to spend as much time as peacefully and cheerfully as she could. I must have hurt her feelings when I said I was bored of having happy days. Yep, when I thought about it, I felt bad for living off my parents who are both healthy and happy. For that matter, Sadoko and Rika-chan lost their parents too. Mion lives with her grandmother away from her parents because she needs to learn to be head of the Sonozaki family in the future. When I realized all that, I felt bad about my situation. You don't have to feel bad about living with your parents. Mion seemed to have read my mind. She said it with a cool expression on her face. Family is the most common community for kids like us to live in. But it's not the only community we have. You mean friends? You're right. Do you think we're as good as family to Rena? Well, that's cleaning, laundry, cooking, and shopping, so she must be tired every day. She could spend her afternoon taking naps. But she doesn't do that. She spends her afternoons playing with us. That means, how should I put it? That means we're best friends. So you're saying we're friends with as much value as family to her? Anne looked stunned, as if she didn't understand what I was talking about. Ah, I didn't know what friends meant for you until today. But I believe friends are just as important and valuable as family.
It's actually very easy to understand.
Rika-chan joined the conversation.
The important thing is to have people around whom you feel comfortable. Sometimes you call them family, or sometimes you call them friends. It's just a matter of the word you use.
Are friends the same as family to you, Rika-chan?
Yes, they are. I believe they are to Satoko, me, and Rena too.
I guess that's why we always try to stay together. Do you ever feel lonely when you're with your friends?
They're my family, so I'm not lonely.
Mia nodded in agreement. Satoko was talking with her other classmates, but I'm sure she would nod as well. Rena would too. I'm a little embarrassed. Why? I've been using the word friends, but I don't think I understood its true meaning until today. Friends are more important and irreplaceable than I thought they were. That's like common sense, so you should take this opportunity to remember that. Yeah, I will. I also recommend that you don't say that again. Kid-chan, you just said something very embarrassing, you know. After all that, Mion still made fun of me. I think I understand a little better why Rena was always so serious about having fun. I want to be her best friend, and I want to do my best to be deserving of her efforts. Rena snored. It sounded cute. She sincerely let her sleep in class, but she couldn't let her get away with snoring. Class president, wake her up, please. Rena, get up! Rena was still half asleep and made a strange noise. Everybody in the class laughed. Rena noticed they were laughing at her, woke up right away and acted like she wasn't sleeping at all. classic that is, isn't it? I know, like, from my days in school, I don't remember ever falling asleep in class. And I can't even remember if anyone ever did when I was in class. Looked really funny, and I burst into a fit of laughter. Ha 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 ha! Outside the window, the sky was blue and the clouds were pure white. It was still June, but it was July in the real world. But it looked like the middle of summer. Well, it is the middle of summer, especially now. The perfect weather wouldn't last forever. It could get cloudy and rain all of a sudden. Well, it's cloudy now. About bloody time, if you ask me. It's been weeks of nothing but sun. Scorching hot, man. It's like, was there the previous recording where I mentioned wearing a shirt that was grey and it ended up being dark grey from all the sweat, just from getting in a car, going to my guitar lesson for an hour, and then like coming back in the car, sweat all down the back, made it dark grey. Just like, bloody hell, the heat is just ridiculous. That's why we had to play and raise the ruckus while we still had this perfect weather. The cries of the cicadas sound as if they're laughing at us because we still have some glasses left. Ah, damn it, I can't wait for school to finish.
Keiichi-kun, you look very happy that something special happened today.
Nothing. Today is today. Tomorrow is tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
I'm just happy that we have perfect well today. I don't care about the well tomorrow. I want to enjoy today as much as I can. He says I just like, but in real life, me here, just like, I do care about the well tomorrow. It better not be as bloody hot. I haven't been to the college in freaking weeks because the heat is too intense. When the weather changes, I don't want to regret that I didn't. But then again, my sleeping pattern's shit as well, so I don't even know if I'll even be awake in the afternoon. I end up like, I was like up all night, and then I fell asleep yesterday in the afternoon, it was around the afternoon. Woke up at like 3 in the morning, and 3 hours later, and here we are, essentially. I learned that from Rena. I learned that peaceful days are the happiest days you can have, and that they're irreplaceable. Mion, what are we doing today for club activities? We need something very exciting for the punishment too. That's the spirit I like, Kei-chan. Because you insist, I'll put you through a living hell.
Keiichi-kun, don't provoke her too much.
Hey, you scared, Rena? I know you're better than that. Let's show her our true power again. Remember, we haven't brought an end to our last battle. I grinned at her and she grinned back.
I do remember that. Okay, let's do it then. Rena-san, you certainly got me last time. For that, I must pay you back with interest.
This is getting very interesting. It's going to be a blast.
I can't wait for school to finish.
I couldn't wait either, but that time we spent just talking together is also very precious. Yeah, it would be nice if school ended soon. Higurashi, when they cry. New tips, my very favorite wine. That's an odd sounding tip. Collateral, achievement unlocked. My favorite wine doesn't exist because I don't drink wine. I don't drink alcohol in general, really. Sadako went to join the children playing in the schoolyard. Okay, so favorite wine. What character perspective could this be from? I have absolutely no idea. And then you start off by saying Satoko went to join the children playing in the schoolyard. That doesn't really help tell the story. Whose perspective are we going with here? Since I didn't feel like going, I decided to stay at home. Most likely she wouldn't be back until the evening. And Sadoko wasn't around, I had ways of spending time without her. Oh, I see. Besides, that was what I wanted to do anyway. I stuck my hand deep inside the pile of winter futons in the closet and pulled one out. Next I filled a stylish-looking glass with ice. The ice made in the freezer smelled of chlorine and didn't taste good. Store-bought ice would be the best, but since the dog kept asking me what I was using it for, I stopped buying it. It's kind of like, should be obvious whose perspective it is from now, but at the same time makes you go, what? But it must be worth spending time to think about, a good excuse for what it meant I would be able to enjoy ice without ever again smelling the chlorine. But it feels kinda out of place in this route. Arc, really. I filled the glass with mineral water, and then poured a little bit of vanilla liquid into the glass. Watching the color mix into transparent water was a very pleasant thing. This wasn't the right way to drink it, but I liked it that way, and didn't want to hear any complaints. My body is very convenient, because I can get drunk with only a tiny amount. That's why I dilute that small amount with a full glass of water. Thanks to that, I could enjoy a single bottle for a long time. It wasn't bad if you thought about it like that. I put a cushion on my favorite spot by the window, and with the glass in one hand I enjoyed the familiar view and the soft wind brushing through my hair. A slightly sweet rhythm aroma tickled my nose, and just when I was about to start enjoying the atmosphere, the annoying one came back. She didn't like this bad habit of mine, and she complained every time I tilted the glass. She started nagging me noisily. Shut up, be a little more tolerant. I can drink and eat whatever I want. You can't. Kids aren't supposed to drink alcohol. Just like, I find it weird. This feels more like something you'd see in the next arc. Not this arc, but it's kind of, I guess, it's kind of like, just be like, ooh, what could this be all about? And in case you haven't figured it out already, this is Rika's perspective. It's like, what? Rika drinks alcohol? Well, it kind of seems obvious with a line like, kids aren't supposed to drink alcohol. It's just like, you know, what? Tried to ignore her, but she started making a fuss, as if trying to ruin the atmosphere on purpose. There was no way I could enjoy getting drunk like this. Rika likes to drink wine, apparently. I glared at her and threw the drink out the window. Want to know why I'm depressed? I'm depressed because the way I die has been decided. It seemed like she finally understood why I wanted to drown myself in alcohol. Seriously, what? Don't have to feel doubt. I get to die instantly, so it's not that scary. My body will be burned and cut into pieces, but I'll be able to die instantly. I don't get it. Was this scene supposed to be in this one? Because it feels so out of place. But not yet. I know, not yet. When am I going to die again? I think it's the night of the 25th of June. So we have a date? It's about a week after the Tanagashi Festival. Well, that sounds reasonable. Is it my fault? Of course it is. Are you serious? She was the one who asked me. She cried when I told her she was right. Ah, gee, she's always so annoying. Just keep trying. I'm sure I'll get 6 in a row on the next board game. June 25th. I still had 10 more days. I was going to relax and enjoy those 10 days. I still had some wine left too. God, that scene's so out of bloody place. Did they put the wrong one in? This does not feel like it should be in this arc, but it is. What's up with that? But at the same time, it feels like it possibly could be in this arc. But why? I guess she does kind of get some attention in this arc, if I recall, but why that scene? Now you've just thrown the plot into even more confusion. Way to go. We're supposed to be focused on Rena, not that. This arc was already a little confusing as it was, you know.